crimes tier list. Everybody knows what crimes are. I don't need to do an intro. You guys know. Let's jump right into it. Starting off with burglary. Okay, burglary. Not to be confused with robbing. Robbing is when we'll see robbing. That's later. I think that's this one on this list. Yeah. Robbery is when you're like what that dude's doing. He's like, "Give me your money, loser," and then he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." That's like a mugging. You're robbing someone, that kind of thing. This right here is burglary. That's like the cartoon when the guy's like tiptoeing through the house and like stealing his PlayStation and dipping while the guy's sleeping. That's burglary. It's robbing you in your home. Burglary. You got to be a pretty treacherous dude, because you would just go to sleep one night, after like a picture this, right? You work in your 9 to 5, you do your thing, whatever. You're driving home, you had a long day, you hit the hit the sack, wake up, and your whole house has been swept clean. Not a trace, not even a mouse. That's, dog, okay. So, I'm ranking this one how justifiable these crimes are. Burglary is rough because, like, if you really hate someone and they deserve something, you're not gonna like steal shit from their house. Burglary is just such a you gotta be a pretty big asshole to just rob someone in their own home. I'll need some convincing. If you tell me that you burglarized someone, I can't just be like, oh yeah, okay, that's not so bad, or they might have deserved it. It's premeditated. It's determined or like predetermined. You have to be careful. It's not like a heat of the moment kind of thing. You need to really plan this out. And it's like maybe someone wrongs you, you want to just beat them up. But this is like petty to a different level. Nah, I'll need some convincing. You gotta have to justify me on that one. Ignore that. Next up is littering. Okay. So this is what I'm gonna put murder. This is murder, by the way. I'm gonna put this right here so you guys can get an example of how I'm doing this. Littering, there's no excuse. There's no excuse to litter. There really isn't. There's no like, oh, my car is full, I have nowhere to put this, or like it's biodegradable. Like, it's garbage. There's no excuse to litter. If I'm driving on the road, which I'm not because I don't have my license, but I will soon, so look out. If I'm driving on the road and I see a dude roll down his window and like chuck a piece of paper at, there's no excuse. There's nothing he can say to me in the world that would be like, oh, okay, that's fair. There's nothing. Like, you just put it in your pocket, and then once you pull over or stop somewhere, like, put it in the trash. There's no excuse. Absolutely no reason. It's just pure laziness. And this country is not about laziness. Next up, we got murder. Okay, so bear with me. The thing about this, again, we're ranking this one how justifiable they are. With murder, I can kind of see maybe some guy kills your son. I guess since it's so severe a crime, I'll have to put it in this because it's the ultimate crime. It's like, this is the last thing you do. Of all the ways to get back at someone, this is the top of the line. So they'd have to be pretty messed up. The reason why I'm putting this below littering is like, with littering, there's just no excuse. There's nothing you could tell me that would convince me. With murder, there is. You could be like, this guy ruined my life. This guy cost me my job. This guy, he hurt my kids. Like, that kind of thing. My wife cheated on me and then, divorced. So I'm going to kill her. Like, that's fine. Like, I understand. You can convince me. So I'm going to put it, and again, because it's such a steep crime, it's not just could go either way. It's got to be pretty rough for you to do it. So you can convince me. But I would sooner understand a murder than a burglary. So we're keeping that below burglary. W list so far. Yep, okay. Next up, we got tax evasion. Well, you don't have to convince me why you would want to do it. I understand why you wouldn't want to pay taxes. Yeah, honestly, like, we're not speaking about the type of person you are to do it, because you're cheating Uncle Sam here, and that's not good, because then the government doesn't have your money, they can't do things with it. But you do not have to justify to me why you would want to evade taxes. I perfectly understand. So that one does not need much. Next up is arson. Arson is such a strange one, because if you're trying to justify me to this, my first question to you would be, why wouldn't you just shoot him or beat him up or even burglarize him? To go so far as to burn a guy's house down, what did he do to you? Even if, because it's, if he did something so bad to you that you needed to get back at him, like to a crazy degree, then kill him. But if he didn't and it was more minor, like assault him. But there's no like middle area where it's like, there's no window in between those two where it's like, assault, murder, and then arson right in the middle here if he's really bad enough. There's no, like, why are you committing arson? To burn someone's house down. Maybe it's like a fit of passion, like you buy a gas can, you go over there and you just like, maybe. But even then, it's like, why not just go beat him up while he's sleeping? Arson, it's not absolutely no excuse because you could tell me that they deserve it, but it's still like, why are you doing that? Why are you burning someone's house down? I'll put that at like top of I'll need some convincing. That's like borderline. Like there is a way I would understand you needing to do it. It's not quite littering level, but you're pretty strange. You're gonna have to convince me on that one. All right, next up we got vandalism. Vandalism. Okay. Justifiable. Okay, so there's two types of vandalism, right? There's vandalism when you're like a bridge or just some random like a cement wall going across a road and you just like write some stupid symbols on it or whatever. That's fine. Nobody's getting hurt. And then there's the other type when you go to like a private establishment, like a business or a restaurant, and then you spray like some obscenity on it. Obscenity. And so if we're going to talk about the criminal aspect because it is a crime. It has to be, you have to be vandalizing like a private thing for it to be a crime. So we're not going to include the first part. Yeah, I'm open to explanations because like maybe someone's a dick to you and so you grab a spray can. It's not like murder where you're like, you have to really convince me that this person needed it for you to murder them. It's vandalism. So it's like, even if they only slightly offended you, vandalism could be justified because it's not an intense crime. It's pretty easy to undo. Vandalism, I'm open to explanations. Or maybe it's easily justified. Yeah. You really don't need to... This guy, hey, he called me a bitch. So I spray painted his house. It's like, okay, I'm with you. Not as easily justified as tax evasion because that's just... Come on. Next up, we got... Oh, I kind of... Okay. I didn't... I should have picked these images better. This is robbery. It looks like assault, but it's not. That's at the end. That's this. Evidenced by Patrick's, big hammer fist there. Robbery. Okay. Now, robbery I understand more than burglary and arson because burglary and arson is such a like you wouldn't think to go there. Like, oh, this guy's an asshole. Let me rob his home. No, I would understand robbery. Robbery, though, when you're doing it, you're not robbing someone because they're an asshole. You're just doing it to rob them. So it's pretty hard to justify that they like somehow deserved it. And again, if you did rob someone because they deserved it, like why aren't you just beating them up? Like you have them in a vulnerable position. If you're robbing them, you have a gun or a knife or something, right? And if you have that, why not just shank them? Or like beat him with the hilt of it or something, Like robbing him is just kind of, it's like backwards thinking. If you told me you robbed someone because you didn't like them, I'd be like really? Is that why you did it? I don't think so. Yeah. I'll need some convincing. Just because it's so strange. Like, I wouldn't think to go there. I'll put it right below burglary. It's not as... You wouldn't need to convince me as much as burglary, but it's strange. Next up is disturbing the peace. That's what this is. I mean, what are we doing here? So when I hear disturbing the peace, I think of this as like cops. You're like standing there and they don't like how you look or you're black. And they're like, he's disturbing the peace. Get him. Sick him. I mean, is it really a crime? I guess if I'm not thinking about it like that, and I have to think about it as an actual crime, you're like screaming at the top of your lungs in the middle of the streets. Or you're like, you're antagonizing people as they walk by, like Arthur and Red Dead in the camp or something. So for that, Why would you be disturbing the like? Why would you be doing that? I guess if you're having like a really rough day, but even then, to get charged for disturbing the peace, you really got to be like a lunatic, right? You got to be screaming in the streets. So that's weird. But also, I'll put it in could go either way. Because at one hand, I could be like, maybe they trumped up the charges. That's, like, you're telling me I really didn't do much at all. And I could probably believe that. But also at the same time, cops wouldn't just get you for nothing. Like, you're not just standing there minding your own business and you get booked by some cops. So I'll put it in could go either way. You won't need to, like, I'm not, like, super suspicious that, oh, what is this? You're going to really need to convince me. But at the same time, I'm not like, that's probably bullshit. You're going to have to convince me a little. All right, next up we got drinking. I don't know if that doxes me. I hope somebody can't get my IP from that. I'm not going to edit that out. That's going to stay there. Anyways, drinking and driving. Driving while under the influence. So clearly this guy is chugging something. That's what this is. Drinking while driving. I mean, like, come on. What are we doing here? When is there an excuse to do that? Like, if somebody got caught on a DUI, what's the reason? There's one reason. It's just that he doesn't give a shit and he wants to drink because it's fun. There's no way you're gonna sit here and convince me that it was like I had to, or like, oh, I didn't think I would be. Yeah, like you're chugging a beer in a car. What are you doing? There's no excuse. There's really nothing I can say. Is it worse than littering? No. Okay, let me think about this. A guy's driving and he chucks a banana peel. Banana peels are biodegradable. He chucks a piece of paper out the window, right? And then across from him, there's another guy, and he's driving down the street, and he's flooring it, pedal to the metal, drinking up. Which one would I say is more justifiable? I'd say the drinking is more justifiable because, listen, littering, there's literally no reason. Like, just keep it in your car. At least with this, you could be having like a super rough day. You don't give a shit about anybody. Maybe you do, like you're ready to die. I don't know. There is no excuse. But littering, there's just absolutely no room. Whereas with drunk driving, I think it's a little bit more gray, even though there is no excuse. So that's where I'm putting that. Spoiler alert: littering is not moving from the top of this list. There's, for all you litter bugs out there, there's just no reason. I doff the crate. There's no reason. Next up is shoplifting. All right, shoplifting. So it's not as severe a crime as murder or assault. So I can understand why you would do it. Like, if you do it, I'm not just like, what an asshole. Look. Shoplifting's, it's a crime. There's really not maybe if you're like starving, like your parents, but then you can get like government checks and stuff. There's really no reason to shoplift, right? Right? I'm not missing something here in the justification of shoplifting. You're just stealing. That's all it is. I'd say robbery. Okay, so like robbery, I'll use that as a baseline because they're pretty similar. What is happening? That was me, by the way, not you. Robbery, if you're robbing someone, maybe you could argue they deserved it. You don't even have that luxury though with shoplifting because you're not stealing from anyone, just like a shopkeeper. And you're not shoplifting to get back at the shopkeeper. You're vandalizing for that, You're just doing this because you're an asshole and you just don't care about the shopkeeper or anything. You just want something, so you're taking it. That's pretty rough to justify, man. What's your excuse? Oh, I really wanted it? Like, come on. I'll put it up. I'd rather maybe maybe you could be like, oh, it was cheap and I really wanted it. I guess I'd sooner believe that, or not believe it, but I'd sooner accept that than whatever you could conjure up for drunk driving. So it'll be there, but there's no excuse to shoplift. I mean, like, what are we doing? If you're that poor, then just beg on the streets. You'll get more money than by doing this. It's just stupid. Next up is bribery. Bribery. Ooh, what an interesting one. In a sea of these crimes where you're just I gotta get out of this Discord. You know what? Bear with me for a minute. Bribery. Okay. Um, this is a strange one. It's not as like it's like a white collar crime. I think that's what it's called, right? Because the rest of these are so physical and like rage moment kind of thing. Bribery. I'd say that's probably pretty easily. You wouldn't have to convince me much why you would want to bribe someone. It would just be because they have some dirt on you, or you need to do something. I mean, yeah, but because it's the real crime here, honestly, is the person who's taking the bribe. They're the ones who's got to explain themselves to me. But the person who's bribing them, their motive is clear. They don't have to justify themselves much to me at all. It's not as bad as tax evasion. Yeah, hell yeah, because even vandalism is like, uh, that's kind of being a dick, and maybe they didn't quite deserve it. But bribery, you're not hurting anybody, so you don't need to justify why you're being like an asshole, because they're not. They're just bribing someone. And it's a crime, but yeah, I think the justification is on the person who accepted it, in my mind. So I like that there. Easily justified. You don't have to say much to me. All right, next up we got assault. Okay. I'll put it here just to complete the tier list. No, but I think it goes there anyways. Okay, let me be objective here. Let me not try to. All right, can you get out of there, pal? No, okay, it's just staying there. Well, I'll deal with it in a minute. Assault. Okay, there are plenty of times where someone's a dick, an asshole, and you want to just beat them up. And if you do, you get charged on assault. But like, imagine there's some guy walking down the street and he's just being an asshole, or maybe he pushes you or something, and you just wallop him. Wow, a real good one right across the kisser here. Um, that's assault. I feel like that's pretty justifiable though. Like this guy was being an asshole. If you're just jumping like if you if you're just like kicking the shit out of a little girl, then maybe that's not so justifiable. But I think yeah, there's plenty of times that people are just dicks, and nobody really can do much because you don't want to go and get in trouble, go to jail. But if you did just decide to let loose and hurt somebody because they were being an asshole, I feel like that's fair because it depends. If they're like the little girl example where they're just hurting someone who doesn't deserve it at all, then obviously that's bad. But I have to assume that there's some kind of a reason why someone would do something, and I don't think it would be that hard to justify why you would want to assault someone. But if there's some like fucking psychopath that's just kicking the shit out of somebody because he looked at him wrong, then that's weird. Which is why it's not going in easily justified, even though I can like pretty easily see why you would want to do that. I'll say I'm open to explanations right off. I'm not going to assume that you're like a horrible person because you said you assaulted someone. Maybe other people would. Maybe I'm weird for that. But I'll hear you out. I really will. I'll be like, okay, why'd you do that? What did he do? That's what my mind goes to. So I like them in open to explanations because I'm actually kind of leaning towards understanding now. Yeah. All right, that's the list then. I have ranked crimes on whether or not or how justifiable I find them to be. If you disagree with me, shut your goddamn mouth. If you disagree with me, go in the comments. I'm sure some of these were a little strange to some of you. Um, tell me what you thought. I always enjoy doing tier lists. The gaming content is fun, but tier lists are always just a lot of fun to make. Yeah, that's all I got to say. See you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye. Have a good day.